Good evening. It's 6 p.m. but welcome to the Joy Primetime News. My name is Gifty Ando Apia. Tonight in this edition, Parliament has rejected the President's request for a review of the recently approved pay rise for the executive. President John Dramani Mahama has assured the armed forces of the establishment of a forward operating base in the Western region. In business, the Ghana Revenue Authority has inaugurated a debt collecting body as it seeks to improve revenue collection. In showbiz, Ochame Kwame says he is Ghana's best kept secret because of his versatility. We'll tell you more on that story. On the international front, a group of 30 gunmen have kidnapped a French engineer by using dynamite to forcefully gain entry into a well-guarded compound. So those are the headlines. We bring you all these and more in the next hour. Stay with me. Now to the details. The Progressive People's Party, PPP, has re-echoed its call on the Electoral Commission to introduce reforms that creditably augment the electoral process in future elections. It believes that the 2012 election results do not deserve to be tagged free and fair, since anomalies and discrepancies were recorded in most polling stations across the country. They also revealed that some results collated at some polling stations were omitted from the total results announced by the Electoral Commission on December 9.
In their quest to contribute to reforming the electoral process and system, National Secretary of the Progressive People's Party, PPP's Kofi Siao, says it is not only necessary for Ghana to adopt new reforms, but prudent ones that will enhance the democratic process. He therefore called on the EC to, as a matter of agency, enforce the Political Parties Act to disqualify parties that do not meet the criteria.
The Political Parties Law requires that the parties meet the following requirements: be national in character, have offices opened in at least 2/3 of all districts in the country, have officers elected at the constituency, regional and national level under the supervision of the Electoral Commission, and 4, provide financial reports. The EC, since 1992, has failed to audit the ability of the existing parties to meet these requirements. No political party has been disqualified or removed from the register of parties as a result of not meeting these and other requirements.
The party suggested other reforms that it believes, when implemented, will make future elections more credible.
We recommend that the EC begins the process immediately to put steps in place for the verification, documentation, and auditing of campaign funding. We recommend that the EC moves a fully electronic voting system with some minimum conditions. International observers are allowed full access to the entire process. No closed-door sessions at the polling stations. 2 internationally recognized audit firms under 50-50 contract with local audit firms audit the results independently and cross-check each other's work.
They called on all statesmen and civil society organizations to support their ideas that create advocacy for constitutional and electoral reforms towards improving all aspects in governance.
Well, the PPP also called on the Electoral Commission to strengthen electoral reforms. Moving on, pro-NPP pressure group Alliance for Accountable Governance has given indication it will complement the NPP's March for Justice demonstration with a massive one in Accra on Friday, December 21st. The protest march, according to AFAG National Coordinator Abu Ramadan, will be one of the biggest in the history of AFAG. According to the group, it is at this stage convinced beyond all reasonable doubt that the declaration of President John Dramani Mahama as the winner of the 2012 presidential election by Dr. Kwadwo Afari-Gyan represents the will of the minority who counted the ballot and not the will of the majority who cast the ballot. This, in the opinion of AFAG, marks a complete deviation from the popular notion of democracy, which thrives on majoritarian rule. They indicate that the Ghanaian example is explicitly stated in Article 63, Clause 3 of the 1992 Constitution. The constitutional provision states categorically that a person shall not be elected as president of Ghana unless at the presidential election the number of votes cast in his favor is more than 50% plus 1 of the total number of valid votes cast at the election. The march-themed Let My Vote Count march will be a platform to express dissatisfaction and aim at drawing the international community's attention to what arguably is an electoral coup d'etat. The group appealed to Ghanaians to converge at the Obra Sport at 6 a.m. and then move through Farisco TUC, Tigo head office, the mental hospital, Asalam down roundabout in front of the PPP headquarters, Ring Road Central, and climax it at the Obra Sport. I have on the line Mr. Joshua Tremantin to talk to us some more about this. Hello, Mr. Tremantin.
Hello. Hello, I can hear.
Yeah, good evening. Welcome. Welcome to the Primetime News.
Thank you very much.
So tell us, what do you have to say about all this?
Yeah, actually, thank you very much. Good evening to your listeners and viewers. I think that as AFAG is prepared and all preparation have been put on the way to make sure our massive demonstration comes off, it's just unfortunate that we've heard that the president has activated an unnecessary display of the security forces. At the same time, God willing, tomorrow. What this means is that if AFAG should go ahead with our intended demonstration, we are obviously going to clash with the military and the police in respect to the routes that we will be passing for our demonstration.
Now, what do you mean by unnecessary display of security forces?
Exactly. I mean, where in this world, places where there is democracy, that you see such exhibitions. Those exhibitions, military forces working in town and those things, they are very symptomatic of dictatorial regimes. These are things that were done in colonial periods to show the brute force of the government, to show that, look, I am who I am. If you come against me, I'll suppress you. These are my force. This is the ammunition I have. That's why we think that it's unnecessary, especially looking at the state in which we found ourselves, when people are disputing the results of the election, when tempers are high and the situation is volatile. I thought that what should prevail is level-headedness, that there should be some form of moderation in terms of managing the situation, but not to send military people out to create the impression.
Now,
yes,
Mr. Tremantin, is this march not a replication of what happened in Kumasi?
This march is AFAG march. What happened in Kumasi is MPP. That we have to draw the lines clear. This is an AFAG march. Let my vote count. And the purpose is obviously to give the platform to the ordinary Ghanaian to contain them in terms of coming out. And of course, it's pinned down with the Constitution of Ghana.
Now, wouldn't you say that the NPP, your stance as it is now, is in line with that of the NPP?
No. Our stance, if you look at AFAG's advocacy, our stance is that we are advocating for the PPP, the PSC. You know, yesterday, the PSC came out to also say that, look, they have been defrauded insofar as this electoral system is involved. Right. For instance, with the PPP, just a minute, with the PPP, in an area like Asanom for something, the PPP tells its own story as to how they got about 815 votes. And the 8 is cancelled and 15 votes is dished out to them. So it's an advocacy that, look, in the democracy, when people go and vote in a certain direction, let that direction reflect, so your point is the vote of the people.
So your point is well made, that it is not representative of only the NPP but for others. But
exactly,
you know that there's been a number of violent clashes after the elections, and so if the security forces are in town, don't you think they are there to ensure some kind of order, so that if your followers are not going to engage in any act of lawlessness, they shouldn't be bothered by the presence of the security?
No, not at all, not at all. I totally disagree with that. The position is this. You remember when the COP Timbela, the Greater Accra Regional Commander, spoke to the media. He made a point that the police are going to be advantage points because there should be presence of the police in order to maintain the peace. What is happening, God willing, tomorrow is just a vulgar exhibition of might by the government of the day. I mean, to create the impression that, look, I have the suppressive power of the state, and
right.
if you come against me, I'll crush you. But what is happening also tomorrow by AFAG, or in any case, AFAG has rescheduled it to be a forum rather, instead of a demonstration, because we don't want the circumstance whereby there are going to be clashes and lives are going to be lost. So we have rather, God willing, tomorrow, called off the demonstration and rather make it a forum in order to come out and churn out our issues with lawyers and professionals and all those people speaking at the same forum. So that's what is going to happen. So we think that it is totally unnecessary for a government to show such brute
Mr. Chairman, I think that point is well made. So you mean that tomorrow, the program is actually happening tomorrow, but now it is no longer a match, but it is a forum?
Yes, please. That's what is happening, God willing, tomorrow. We are going to have a forum instead of a match in order not to cause any clash and loss of human life. Not because people are scared, but just that we want the peace of the nation. But we also want to use this avenue to tell the president that in this volatile situation, you don't activate such suppressive forces of the state in order to show British power. It was seen in Libya, it failed. It was seen in La Côte d'Ivoire, it failed. Whenever the will of the people arises, no matter the guns you have, no matter how smoky the guns become, so the will of the people prevails. So I think the president, as a student of history, should know better and not engage in some of these frivolous and outlandish things.
Right, Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. But we hope that the crowd, whatever you have it, you're able to control them enough so we don't have the clashes that you are trying to prevent. Thank you very much for your time. Now, that was Mr. Chairman. He is with the AFAG, and he says that tomorrow's program is no more going to be a match, but it's going to be a forum. Let's move on and go back to our earlier story. The PPP has a lot of things to tell the EC. It has called on the EC to strengthen electoral reforms to deepen credibility of the election results.
There are problems with Ghana's electoral system, the processes leading up to the voting. There are serious difficulties with it. Whilst we laid bare the difficulties and the challenges, it's also call for reforms, ways and steps to be taken to prevent the current discussions that impinges on the credibility and integrity of election results, so that finally we are able to sustain our fragile democracy. Our entire governance architecture rests on only one activity, that is election, and the institution responsible for it is the Electoral Commission. The EC has constantly relied on political parties and their agents to give them credible election results. No, we cannot, going forward, rely on political party agents.
You alleged that some political parties are having their support from other international organizations, foreign organizations. Do you have evidence to this?
You see, when we say something, they say evidence. The Hawaii issue that they were supporting the NDC, which state institution can tell us with a weak denial from the NDC? Which state institution can tell us independently that the allegations were true or the denial is false? Which one? That is what we want happened. So that if nobody is taking money from foreign companies, if nobody is taking money from foreign government, an institution like the Electoral Commission should be able to tell us. So
they didn't really substantiate it.
How do you know whether it was true or it wasn't true? How do you know whether they have taken money or they haven't taken money? So why don't you put in place a system that makes sure that if you take, we will know. If you don't take, we will know. If you spend it on ABC, we will know. That is what we want. That even the allegations themselves have their own contribution to the sustenance of our democracy. So why should you allow the allegations to go on? So let's put in place a system that even makes it impossible for allegations to happen.
Finally, you said you've sent a letter to the EC for an audience. What exactly are you going to meet them with?
All the documentation that we're talking about, proving the inaccuracies, and also the proposals that requires the to make changes in the electoral reform. So we sit with them. I'm sure they'll have questions that they want to put to us. So we'll also go with our answers.
Well, very few women have gathered the courage to become flag bearers of political parties. Controversial Akua Donkor, founder of the Ghana Freedom Party, GFP, who joined Dr. Indum's party, PPP, after failing to meet the Electoral Commission's requirement to stand for president, says she will not return the vehicle she was given by the PPP for the campaigns. Akua Donkor told Joy News' Walalom Johnson she is ready to face the party in court and nothing will stop her from using the car on her farm.
Akua Donkor's dream of becoming president was shattered when she could not complete her nomination form. Akua Donkor joined the Progressive People's Party to help Dr. Indum further his dream of becoming president. It was a political marriage made in heaven, but the PPP failed to garner 1% at the end of the polls. The love affair landed on rocks, and now both partners are fighting over a vehicle.
Campaign mano, me family do mano, na me kasanche me nkrofo ne yanto mano. Na ono wagi na bia ne yanto amano. Mfia na ne yanto amano. Nti me fa benye card na me so family pa mano. Ada ma je na me so me di pa ma wo. Nti wan kasa me na me fanya campaign ma. Me fanya ma na chese me de me family to nkopem nai.
Madam Akua Donkor says she would not return the vehicle.
Insurance ni nyina obe ho ya bibia ni ho a chese me insurance ne kura na me hia enti say wo insurance sama ayi people sama mfa ma me a me nim moment na pese osisi me a enye adwuma nyankopɔ kura ma kwai me pesa so fa nko na me kan kire court fo ne say court bia ne be ko bia me ko na on tia say me da me ho adi say me nim ngoma enye ne mu asɛm ne nyina ne metimi ehunu enti de wa ka kire me say wo ma media fo aba na TV fo abetwa me wo de me to internet so ampa so aye Wakaja msa sani amani hiya check sankrata so na so de me atonta that so wi ase me nyina ehunu se me na o de me aka ho afi media fo wa gara ha ye ntime nsa ye nyina betwa me ye betwa me se de na mo atwa me ene nti no saa de me ya aka che me so me gidi se ye pa so to me ya ze se me ti wa se bibi hiya me a asem bi hiya me pa me frɛ media fo na me de atu anim me kwa radio na ma akɔka de hiya me na me aka che enti so afrɛ wo mo na me betwa de a ma wie me ni hwe ka biem enti wo ka se nkata asem na so de bekɔkɔto a wa pa wa fa nkɔ na ya de hiya na me ka no na onya ka asem no.
Guess what she would use the vehicle for?
Me se me de ka no kwa afuo me yekuyani me yekuyani o enti me de akonwa sim ma ye akonwa kora de sim nam de tapodi akata so na se me de bra 40 mu a na se nsuo to ansuo na am wo mo enti me de ka no kwa afuo makɔ ye adwuma ma mo adwuma mo nyina media afo mo anya adwuma mo anya aduane adi.
PPP is not enthused.
Cannot come and play any tricks on us. We will collect it, but we use every legitimate means possible to collect it. I mean, there's no two ways about that.
How soon is that?
Well, soon will be determined by her own intransigence. If indeed we realize that, look, she's still proving stubborn, every force possible that we need to exert on her to bring her car, she'll do it, possibly using the state apparatus.
It was a rib-cracking experience for most journalists, but Akua Donkor meant business. With no prenuptial agreement, we wait patiently to see how both parties settle their asset problem in court.
I told you, not a lot of women can gather the courage to do this. Indeed, she is not returning the car, so she says. We wish them well in that endeavor. We'll take a short break here. We'll return with some more news. Please don't go away. You're welcome back. President John Dramani Mahama says a forward operating base in the Western region is to be established as part of measures to protect Ghana's oil. He was speaking at the last meeting of the Ghana Armed Forces Council at the Ministry of Defense today. The president, who is also the commander-in-chief of the Ghana Armed Forces, took the presidential salute and inspected a guard of honor. The meeting commenced with the swearing-in of a new member of the council, Rear Admiral retired Jonathan Yankful Adoko, who was led by the president to take the oath of office and secrecy. Defense Minister Lieutenant General J.H. Smith said the armed forces was most importantly impressed with the passage into law of the Veterans Administration Act 844, which promises to give veterans, dependents and widows of deceased retired servicemen a dignified life.
All troops belonging to the three services expect improved accommodation Excellency, you are aware of our problem with accommodation already, and you've intimated that this year we are going to embark on this head-on and make sure that by the end of 2013, we'll have accommodation in all garrisons for our soldiers.
The president said his government, in its first tenure, will aggressively pursue a housing scheme for members of the armed forces, adding Parliament is already considering some proposals to construct housing units for security personnel.
Government is looking forward in 2013 to continue the Better Ghana agenda to improve the lives of our people. Our renewed mandate by the people is as a result of the impressive performance of the last 4 years. The expectation of our people is for government to deliver on its promises, and rightly so. I'll therefore count on your continuous loyalty, commitment, and support to enable government pursue its programs in an atmosphere of peace and security.
He commended the loyalty of the Ghana Armed Forces, their role in international peace support operations, as well as the role they played in ensuring the elections were peaceful. He urged them to remain loyal. The rest of the meeting was held behind closed doors. Well, the Africa Center for Energy Policy says publication of contracts awarded oil companies should be mandatory in order for citizens to be aware of terms and conditions of such contracts. Speaking at the IEA's roundtable discussion on oil and gas, Executive Director of Africa Center for Energy Policy, Mohamed Amin Adam, said this will enhance transparency in the oil sector.
The government has published some 7 contracts, but there are still about 5 contracts that have not been published. The minister exercises discretion as to which contracts to publish or not. We think it's not good, because where a contract is a bad contract and the government doesn't want citizens to know, the minister may exercise that discretion and refuse to publish that contract. And so we are advocating for mandatory contract disclosure, which should be provided for in law, so that the minister doesn't have that room to decide whether to hide a contract or not to hide a contract.
The African Center for Energy Policy indicated transparency in every step of the management of Ghana's oil was fundamental, as it strengthens accountability and reduces waste and corruption. According to the center, in building good governance, oil revenue, expenditure policies, law and regulations, as well as administration should all be transparent. Executive Director of Africa Center for Energy Policy, Mohamed Amin Adam, told Joy News the nature of Ghana's petroleum funds was not the best.
As of the end of July 2012, the amount standing in the 2 accounts, the Heritage Fund account and the Stabilization Fund account, was about 68 million US dollars. Of the total amount which is supposed to go to the petroleum funds, 70% is supposed to go to the Stabilization Fund and 30% is supposed to go to the Heritage Fund. Now, if you take 54 million as against 14 million, you have 21% in the Heritage Fund instead of 30%, and 79% in the Stabilization Fund instead of 70%, which is contrary to the provisions of the law.
The center said government must examine the country's fiscal regime to raise Ghana's revenue entitlement for the benefit of citizens.
The director of the Institute of Continuing and Distance Education, Professor Yao Ohinibasechi, says improving water supply and sanitation is critical if the country is to meet the Millennium Development Goals. He was speaking at the launch of the 64th New Year School and Conference in Accra, which is on the theme, The Key to Future Health of Our Nation, Improved Water, Sanitation and Hygiene.
The portion of households using public toilet facilities increased from 31.4% in the year 2000 to only 34.6% in the year 2010. That of households that use pit latrine reduced from 22% in the year 2000 to 19% in the year 2010. And the proportion of households using water closet, popularly called WCs, increased from 8.5% in the year 2000 to 15.4% in the year 2010. In spite of these gains, the evidence is clear that the majority of Ghanaians lack decent toilet facilities.
The Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources this morning narrowly escaped losing their documents to a fire outbreak. The fire, which was reported to have started at about 11 a.m. today, was noticed much in time by staff to extinguish it.
In an interview with the PRO of the Lands Ministry, Charles Reko, he recounted that the regulator in the building sparked fire and the resultant noise prompted staff who rushed out of the building.
Around 11:30, we heard the sparks. We got out of the office and we realized that the switch in front of the office of the administrator of two lands, was giving us sparks of fire, and the switch was engulfed in some flames, and it was put out a lot of smoke. So there was shouts went around. People came out of their offices and went out of the building, and we were able to get the condition under control by putting off the main switch on the ground floor of the building.
Fortunately, 4 men who knew how to manage fire extinguishers took up the task and quenched the fire before it could spread. This was before the fire service got to the scene. 2 members of staff shared the account of the incident.
I was calling by one of our director that I should come and collect a letter to minister at Legon University. So I was going up steps when I see one secretary was running, coming down, telling me that one of the meter, the main switch is burning. So from there, then I tried to raise the alarm. Then I tried to rush from the main switch to off it. From there, I comes down, then I'm calling the fire service to come. The line is not entering.
I was coming from Wexenhausen, which I got in here, going to my workplace. Then I saw the fire. I saw people coming down. Then what I did was, I went in there to switch the main switch off. Then after that, I went to the top there, where about 4. Then we got some, fire extinguisher. And then when I got in there was somebody there already. Then I helped him. Then we were able to bring the fire down.
No casualties were recorded and documents were intact.
Thankfully, nothing was destroyed, but we're still on some more fire outbreaks. Now, the Member of Parliament for Ablekuma West has suffered a misfortune as the year draws to a close. Her residence was gutted by fire this morning.
At about 9:30 Thursday morning, when the news team got to the scene, these residents were clearing the remains of the burnt portion of the house. According to an eyewitness and a resident of the house, the fire started shortly after they had powered a generator following a power cut.
I was outside when I came and they make light off around 5 o'clock. So I just came in, I saw the generator machine was working. So less than 30 minutes, I've seen fire burn on it. So, and we were struggling, even they make all the water and sewage, they close all the pipes. And we were struggling to get some small sun in the outside to come. We try our best small before the fire service people came. So they came and support us, and the fire became cool. When I came and I saw how the fire was burning, nobody was even nearer to get inside into my room. So I behaved to manage and go in and took all my items small. And before I realized, after the ceiling and everything there, it has burned.
The main house was, however, not affected by the inferno, and no casualty has been recorded, but the police have commenced investigation into the fire outbreak.
Well, that was Eslowusu's residence, Member of Parliament for Ablekuma West. The first governing council for the College of Pharmacists have today inducted into office by the Deputy Minister of Health, Roger Meto Nunu. This is in fulfillment of the Specialist Health Training and Plant Medicine Research Act 833/2011 that established the college.
The 9-member committee, chaired by Kwabena Ohenimenu, is responsible for the implementation of policies, mobilization, control and supervision of the finances and estates of the college for a 3-year term. Deputy Health Minister Roger Metal Nunu, in his inaugural address, challenged the council to work with the Food and Drugs Authority to fight against the influx of fake drugs on the Ghanaian market, which poses a threat to the health of the public and the National Health Insurance Scheme.
The industry is also challenged with the influx of fake drugs, imitation drugs, drugs that in some cases, if not tested, do not actually provide the right efficacy as labeled. And the Food and Drugs Board would be working very closely with this council to promote pharmacovigilance.
He also charged them to be committed to duty and ensure the growth of the college, as well as churn out graduates who would improve the health of the populace.
I believe strongly that with the inauguration of the 9-member council, some discipline and impact and direction will be given to ensure that it is only qualified pharmacists, it is only institutions that recognize and employ pharmacists that would have the field day from this day forward.
The chairman of the council, in his acceptance speech, promised to work to meet the target, asking for support and cooperation of the Ministry of Health and other pharmacists. The Ghana College of Pharmacists is to promote specialist training in pharmacy and related disciplines, and also promote research in pharmaceutical practice and contribute to the formulation of health policies, among others.
Ghanaian lawmakers have taken what one insider called a firm decision not to review the recently approved pay levels of the members of the executive. The decision was made after closed-door deliberations among lawmakers today. My colleague Evans Mensah spoke to some of them earlier.
The request placed before us by the president was wrong, was unconstitutional, because Parliament does not review salaries of the executive. What already happened is the president appoints a committee to recommend and other benefits, fringe benefits, to the president or to the executive, and then to the legislature. That is what the Constitution says, Article 71, clauses 1 and 2. That's what it says. So after the committee has finished a report to the president referred the recommendation relating to the presidency to Parliament for approval. There is nowhere stated in the Constitution that Parliament shall review. Rather, Parliament shall give approval. So if the president asks us to review, then he acted on travaris.
And so that will explain the decision by Parliament not to accede to his request.
Yes, but I don't know whether it implies that they want him to be paid what had been recommended earlier. Because as I said, Parliament has no power to review. So if Parliament has rejected it, and he also says doesn't want it, then the whole thing should be started all over again.
In other words, the only way to deal with this matter is to set up a new committee.
Excellent. You are very intelligent. Excellent. That's the way I see it.
The fear, though, is that if Parliament has refused to do this for the president, your own emoluments are in the hands of the president.
Yes, that is what the Constitution says.
You don't have any fear that the president might say, okay, if you decided to reject my request, then obviously I'm also going to exercise my prerogative not to give you what you want as far as emoluments are concerned.
Well, we have not asked what we want. What has been recommended for us, we have not said we like it or we don't like it.
So what is the report on business tonight? The Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority, George Blankson, says although revenue collection target is on course this year, there is more work to be done to improve the sector. The GRA has therefore put in place tax administration reform. A major component of the reform is to closely monitor debt owed by domestic and customs taxpayers, recover them, and enforce tax laws and policies more rigorously. In furtherance of this, a new unit, Debt Management and Compliance Enforcement Unit, has been set up.
Tax administrators expect that after tax assessments have been raised on taxpayers, they will honor their tax obligations on due dates without fail. Yet, the situation is not always like that. Taxpayers in the country do not pay tax voluntarily. To change this attitude, the Debt Management and Compliance Enforcement Unit has been set up. The unit is to monitor trends in debts owed by taxpayers, manage debt recovery, and undertake appropriate action to enforce compliance. At the inaugural ceremony of the unit, the Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority, George Blankson, advised that the staff work diligently towards achieving their goals.
It is my fervent hope that as pioneers of this new unit, you will apply yourselves to the task and work assiduously to justify the confidence reposed in you. Even though your job of managing and recovering debts and enforcing compliance is definitely not a bed of roses, it is my firm belief that you will rise to the occasion and prove yourselves equal to the task.
But for the head of the newly established unit, they only need the appropriate resources to be efficient.
REN is a fresh unit. Our office is under construction. It's almost complete at the Ghana Lotteries Authority. And then we will ask for logistics, vehicles, and other things to take off. But we'll be using some of the logistics from the office station where I am now to be able to execute the actions. Yes.
The Ghana Revenue Authority advised taxpayers who owe to endeavor to pay up before the year ends.
Let's go now to the presidency. Members of the Private Enterprise Foundation have met with President John Dramani Mahama. Their meeting is part of a biennial meeting to discuss economic expansion.
The Private Enterprise Foundation is made up of the Association of Ghana Industries, Ghana National Chamber of Commerce, the Ghana Employers Association, the Federation of Association of Ghanaian Exporters. They were all well represented. In their meeting today at the Castle was Trade and Industry Minister Hannah Tete, National Security Advisor General Nunu Mensah, Government Policy Analyst, as well as other officials at the presidency. President Mahama said they will reflect on the state of the economy and what needs to be done looking forward into 2013.
We all know some of the difficulties we've been facing in terms of the deficit, in terms of even sectoral issues like load shedding, the issues of gas, non-availability of gas going forward that led to the power crisis that we have gone through, and several other issues that I know are on the top of your mind. So what government is going to do is to play the role of a facilitator to ensure that we create the kind of ambience that is necessary for you to be able to pick up the rope and run.
He added, it is about time the private sector took over from the state in economy expansion.
The Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, GPHA, has posted a revenue loss of $7.6 million over the 76 days that the Argentine frigate, the ARA Libertad, occupied the prime berth at Tema Harbour. Officials have also indicated their intention to recover some $18,278 in rent charges from MAP Shipping Agency, agents for NML Capital Limited. The hedge fund group, whose unrepaid loan to the Argentine government prompted the ship's impounding, Jacob Adoko, the acting director of the Tema Port, who disclosed this information to the Daily Graphic in Tema, said the GPHA will decide whether the $7.6 million should be waived as an opportunity cost or institute legal action against the representatives of NML Capital to recover the lost revenue. Since the GPHA as an entity was not party to the matter, any economic loss by the authority as a result of the action taken by the creditors which sought to deprive the GPHA of its revenue must be borne by the creditors, he said. The ARA Libertad, which was detained at the Tema Port on October 2 this year, at one point saw crew members brandishing weapons to stop port authorities from relocating the ship to a new berth in the wake of a court ruling secured by the GPHA. Sales of previously owned U.S. homes rose in November to their highest level in 3 years, figures have shown. The National Association of Realtors said sales rose 5.9% to a seasonally adjusted annual rate of 5.04 million last month. Meanwhile, the economy grew faster than previously thought in the third quarter at an annualized rate of 3.1%.
The Commerce Department had previously estimated that growth hit 2.7% in the 3 months to September. However, economists still predict much slower growth in the final 3 months of the year. The NAR said that there was healthy demand in the house market. NAR Chief Economist Lawrence Yan says momentum continues to build in the housing market from growing jobs and bursting out of household formation. The U.S. unemployment rate fell to a 4-year low of 7.7% in November and has been steadily falling from its recent peak of 10.1% in October 2009. However, the rate of 5.04 million is still well below the peak of mid-2005 when it topped 7 million. Home prices rose year-on-year for the 9th consecutive month. The national median existing home price for all housing types was $180,600 in November, up 10.1% in November 2011.
Well, let me quickly remind you that right after the news, we'll bring you a live telecast of what's happening. That is the Carol's Night at the seat of legislature. Well, let's come back to the showbiz. Now, Ochame Kwame says it's Ghana's best kept secret because he's able to go the extra mile to bring up very authentic and unique performances. Ochame, who passed by our studios after a successful show, also said the Versatile show was actually a launch of his new album, Mr. Versatile.
The maiden edition of the Ochame Kwame Versatile show, according to the rap doctor, was to launch his new album, Mr. Versatile, which features numerous music celebrities, including Irene Logan. It looks like this import was missing from the entire show, as it was never mentioned during the show. But Ochame explains that as many music lovers are used to a particular style of album launch, he was being careful not to be misconstrued as one of those. During this exclusive chat with Ochame, he tells us about what kept him energized throughout his continuous 4-hour performance.
Energy, I think, is a quest to succeed, the quest to achieve.
Being his maiden show, Ochame says he's happy about how the event panned out, but is quick to add that it could have been better. He believes he's Ghana's best kept secret, as he has always come out with something classy and unique.
Ochame Kwame at his best over there. Producers of rip-cracking plays, Roverman Productions, have once again put out a bouquet of hilarious plays in their festivals of plays for the 2012 Christmas season.
Unlike previous bouquets, which contained 4 plays, this year's Festival of Plays will feature 5 plays, Caught in the Act, Everyone Has a Secret, Trials of a Ghanaian, Don't Mess with a Woman, and Different Shades of Women, all written by renowned playwright James Ebuwhite. A ticket for all 5 plays goes for only 150 Ghana cedis, whilst a single play costs 40 Ghana cedis.
Let's see. Yeah.
That's it for Showbiz. And well, that's how we end the bulletin for tonight. It has been Joy Primetime News. My name is Gifty Ando Apia. Please stay for the live telecast of the Carols Night at the seat of Legislature. Have a good evening.